Yes, everybody, welcome back to Football United TV. This is the Transfer Zone. I'm here with Tereak and Marlie, of course, but you know what's coming right now. It's the intro. Yes, everybody, welcome back to another version of the Transfer Zone. I'm joined today by a very special guest, Tereak Talks, mate. How are you doing? You good?
I'm good, Matt. Thank you for inviting me on, and it's nice to see you guys. I've been watching a few of your videos, and yeah, I love the content that you guys are producing. So it's a pleasure being here, man.
Thanks, mate. And you too as well, man. I'm loving your content as well. That's why I reached out to you and I was like, got to get him on, mate. Got to get him on. Marlie, how you doing, bro? You all right?
I'm doing better now that now that someone just picked us up like that. Like I feel really humbled. Thank you for that, Tariq, and thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk some more transfers.
Yeah, same here. And we're going to start off firstly with Rafinha from Leeds going to Chelsea. It's around, 50 million, 55 million, could reach 60, they reckon. Hasn't been signed, sealed, delivered for that sort of information at the moment. But what do you make of this, Tereak, mate? You think this is a good move?
I feel like it's a great move for Chelsea in terms of if they're trying to improve on their attacking forward line. They're looking to get rid of Hakim Ziyech, of course, trying to get Hakim Ziyech shifted over into AC Milan. And you're thinking of someone like a Rafinha. He's not too dissimilar to Hakim Ziyech in terms of his creativity. He likes to go out wide, but he has more of an option coming on the outside. He's more able to use his right foot. He has a bit more pace about him, the physicality, and yeah, I feel like he's an upgrade, certainly in those wide areas. He can give you goals as well. We saw the 11 goals that he scored for a struggling Leeds side last season. And for Chelsea, it's a good signing for them. I also think it's going to be kind of interesting to see how he fits in with that Tuchel system, because with Thomas Tuchel, he likes to play with his wing backs very wide. And if he's going to stick with that 5 or 3 at the back and wing backs formation, how is he going to operate with his wingers then? Or his inside forwards? Because he likes to play with a 3 that interchange a lot. And yeah, that's not what we've seen Rafinha at his best do, but I'm sure he's got the ability to do so. It's just going to be a whether he can. But, you know, Barcelona are in the race now, which is literally broken probably about an hour or so before we started doing this. So, yeah.
That's why there's question marks, because obviously, like you said, I did hear rumours at least an hour ago saying that Barcelona are in. I thought it would be full, so I thought it's just sort of a deterrent to make Chelsea up the pace. But they could actually be doing it, because this De Jong move is obviously increasing by the day, and I think that should be probably announced by tomorrow or the day after at the very, very latest. But that's pretty much signed, sealed, delivered, and that's where the cash flow comes in for Barcelona, so they can go and get some of these players. And I'm pretty sure Rafinha would be on their list, right, Marlie? I mean, he's incredible. At Leeds as well, who, you know, stumbled this season after having a great season before that. So it's time for him to move on, right? Especially playing for Brazil as well. He does get call-ups for the national squad, right?
Yeah. I've said it multiple times before. Like if Barcelona actually tries to get him and they're able to pay Leeds what they want for Rafinha, Rafinha's gonna pick Barcelona over anyone else. Like Brazilian players in general, they prefer going to Real Madrid or Barcelona over any other team. It's only logical. So, and Barcelona is actually really interesting for him because he stands a great chance of starting game in, game out, and that's going to give him great chances of actually going to the World Cup because there's a lot of competition, mainly in his position. Like Brazilian wingers, we have like a bunch of really good ones. So I feel like it's smarter for him to go to Barcelona than going to Chelsea or even Arsenal because he's. I want to get Tereak's opinion on that one because a lot of people seem to be like going crazy over the fact that he was close to signing to Arsenal and now like it seems that we're not favorites anymore. Like we're almost out of the race for him. Like I never got too excited about the Rafinha rumors. I feel like where we stand right now, like paying that much money for someone who's absolutely not guaranteed to start. I don't feel like he's a better player than Saka. And in like 2 seasons, we know that Saka is going to be a much better player than him. Martinelli stands a good chance of being a much better player than him as well. They have big, like higher potentials. And out of everyone we have been linked with, like in a solid way, like Martinez, Jesus, who already came, or Tielemans and Rafinha. Rafinha was the one that excited me the least. He made the least sense. I feel like I like other names a lot better. Like even Gakpo, who's like clearly not at Rafinha's level yet, but at least he can play as a striker. Because I don't like the fact that if Gabriel Jesus gets injured, it looks like it's gonna be Eddie Nketiah, right? So if we brought in someone that can actually play centrally, like Gnabry or Gakpo, that would make me happier. Even though Rafinha, like that's business that excites people, right? Like he's been playing really well in the Premier League, but yeah, Barcelona's the best move for him. I don't feel like he's a guaranteed starter at Chelsea either. But I feel like that's what's gonna actually happen.
Yeah,
I feel like,
what's your
sorry,
thoughts, Tereak? No, yeah. What do you think?
I feel like, well, you're not going to meet anyone that's probably going to sell Rafinha more than me, really. Apart from Deco, maybe. That's his role, I guess. But I've really enjoyed watching Rafinha since he's ever stepped foot in the Premier League. He made his debut against us, in fact, in that 0-0 draw. And since then, he just went on and kicked on from there. And with Rafinha, he's very much, your Brazilian winger with a lot of flair, directness. He's not afraid to take on your opponents. And what we're seeing from Rafinha, he's got that South American grit and grind to his game as well, which is exactly what Arteta needs. And I feel like on that right side, I feel that he would be better suited than Saka. I'm not saying I think personally today he's a better player today, but not to the level that Saka can get to. Like, come on, guys, I've got his name on the back of my shirt. I'm going to support him.
The same thing. Yeah. Be humble.
Exactly that. But with Bukayo Saka, I think if we did bring Rafinha in, Saka would have moved out left. Saka creativity is better than his shooting, he's better than his finishing ability, and we kind of saw that at times where he was playing on the right, he was a bit too obvious going in on that right, coming in on that left foot because he's not as good as using his right, of course. But from the left, we saw the creative numbers in his first season up there with the likes of Trent, Kevin De Bruyne, and I feel Rafinha with Tomiyasu behind him would have given us that two-way option, a little bit like Mahrez. How Kyle Mahrez is on the right, where you don't really see Kyle Walker bombing past him often.
No, not much.
Exactly. So you see him. So he has the ability to go left or right because he's a 1v1 player. And I'm always one of these guys where you can never have too much good, too many good players and goal scoring threat. I think that's what we need. And you know what? It doesn't look like we're going to get him, but I think he would have added something to Arsenal. And yeah, maybe he's not a guaranteed starter, but that would have been good for his development, Saka's development, Martinelli's and Milsmith role. Whereas at Chelsea, I can't really see anyone starting over him on that right side, in all honesty.
Do you think that maybe the money from Chelsea might give him that push to go there instead of Barcelona, seeing as their wages have to be sort of in line with the fair play of the league? Do you think that it probably would potentially be Chelsea would go to? I'm agreeing with Marlie that I'd probably prefer to see him at Barcelona because I don't want to see him go to anyone in the Premier League, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Me too. I agree with that. But it just depends if Barcelona, if they can pay what Leeds want, and then if let's say they do that, can they then pay what Rafinha would want as well? Can they match Chelsea, or would Chelsea's offer just be, blow it out of the water? It's difficult because Rafinha, he's not. Has he been one of those guys when you look at his career? Has he been one of those who's gone and sought after the money? He's always had a chip on his shoulder. When you've seen him, like he went from Sporting to Rennes, and then from Rennes to Leeds. Like from Sporting to Rennes, that's not really a step up. But
No.
do you know what I mean? So he's looking. So he's kind of looked at his career in a, in an aspect where it's primarily focused on football, but the money from Chelsea might just be, ridiculous, because that's the difference between the Premier League and the Liga now. But as Marley said, with South Americans and especially Brazilians, when Barcelona and Real Madrid come knocking, you can't really say no.
That's the thing, isn't it? Brazil and Barcelona, that's the thing. There's the connection there, isn't there? And it's like Tereak just said, it's hard to turn that down, right, Marley?
Yeah, very hard. And it's tough to guess like what kind of personality Rafinha has when it comes to like deciding the move, if money's too much of an influence there, because like he became a highly sought after player like 2 years ago, maybe 1 year and a half. So we haven't had the proof. Like big teams never chased him before like 2 seasons ago. So let's see. I feel like he would demand lower wages from Barcelona than he would at Chelsea. But let's see how big that gap is and how much of an influence that makes.
Yeah, I've got a question. Which side? Because, it's a World Cup year, and I think that's why the transfers in the transfer market has moved so fast. What team, what club out of Chelsea, Barcelona, and Arsenal would it be best for him to showcase his talents to get into Chiche's side?
I think Barcelona makes the most sense.
I'm going to say Arsenal.
Ooh, interesting.
And the reason why is because I think he's got more of a chance of getting in at Arsenal than he has at Barcelona and he has at Chelsea. I still think at Chelsea he still find it a little bit hard to get in. Arsenal would accept him, I think. And if Arteta does want him, it's not like Barcelona have gone, right, we want this guy, Rafinha. It's Arsenal are the pretty much the only ones, apart from United, were sniffing around. But Arsenal have made the real intent and saying, we want this player. Chelsea have came into it and gone, actually, we'll steal this. Yeah, it wasn't even their sort of signing either. So for him, like you said about getting into the international squad for the World Cup, like Jesus is doing pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, going to a club where Edu's running things, like that's gonna help you get to the national team. Like he's someone very well connected within the national team, and I feel like Rafinha, like he's probably gonna start wherever he goes within these 3 clubs. But I don't know. Like a Brazilian starting for Barcelona, that's always going to bring like something slightly more special to the table. So
I think maybe if Ziyech or something goes, then maybe he might be able to. Like if they shift somebody out of Chelsea, doesn't necessarily have to be the same position, but someone attacking like him. But I can't see that happening. I can only see Chelsea building on what they've got, especially seeing as Lukaku's left the building as well for a season-long loan. I think that's going to be longer as well. I think that'll be permanent.
So you've got Sterling coming in as well, potentially. Then you've got Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's going to look for minutes, and Werner if he's still there. So, of course, there is more competition as well.
So, Rafinha, you might get in, and I think this Barcelona will probably say the same because the way they're going to shift things around, because we don't know, it's still really early days, isn't it, in the transfer window? And if Barcelona get the money that they want, I know they've done a deal with Spotify as well, who've given them quite a lot of money recently. And actually, they've called it the Spotify Camp Nou. It's been renamed, isn't it, for 3 or 4 years? Yeah. So if anyone's going to visit Barcelona and the Spotify Camp Nou, then now you know what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Make sure you got your music on when you go there.
Oh, yeah. Can't listen to Amazon music there.
Let's move on to the next one then, people. Talking about a Fluminense ex-player going to Real Betis of La Liga, obviously winning the Copa del Rey this year on a buzz. Did I spell that wrong? I thought
you mixed up the first and last name. That's what happened. Okay, so Luis Henrique
Diaz.
Luis Henrique.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, there you go. I was close. It's hard. It's difficult. I did read it wrong. My apologies.
It's all good. It's all good.
Start off with you, Marlie, mate. What do you make of this move? You talked about this player before, I think, to me, and I've seen it on some of your feature shows. Let us know, mate. This is a good deal for Real Betis, getting them a bit stronger in the league. I've seen as they can take advantage of this whole wage cap.
Yeah, I mean, great business from Real Betis. This deal actually happened in March, but he just played his last game for Fluminense this weekend against Botafogo. We won. That's the team that John Textor owns, by the way. Same owner as Crystal Palace, yeah. But mate, Luis Henrique, he's a really exciting player. Fluminense is like we're always in a financial struggle, so we usually need to sell our academy players. We have one of the best academies in the world. Like you have a lot of proof from that because of the players that are out there that came from Fluminense. But Luis Henrique, he has been for like 2 years Fluminense's biggest attacking threat, and he's got loads of potential. Like he's very physical, like he's quite strong for a winger, even though he looks a little lanky. His movement kind of resembles Rivaldo's a little bit, just the way he moves, right? Like I'm not saying he's gonna be as good as Rivaldo.
You went there.
Are you saying he's a good dancer? Is that what you're saying? Yeah? he knows how to samba.
He actually believes he's a good dancer. He likes celebrating a little dance, like a lot of Brazilian players do. But I don't know, he's a little stiff. But he's like quite lengthy, but like he's very skillful, like surprisingly skillful for someone his size because he's quite tall as well. He's also really strong. Like you can see him multiple times getting past 2 players just because of his physicality mixed with his skills as well. He's got a mean left foot. I feel like he's quite versatile as well because Fluminense struggles with money. Like we had to sell him for Brazil standards, that's a lot of money. I think it was like 13 million euros. That's it's quite a lot of reais, right? Like something close to like 60 million reais or something. But great deal from Betis, who's another club that's struggling financially. Us Arsenal fans, we know that because they can't lend Hector Bellerin, right? So great deal. Like their attacking options at Betis, they're quite old. Like everyone's like 28 to 31. And he's someone that can play on the right wing, on the left wing. We've seen him play as a left wing back as well because he does have like defensive awareness and a lot of physicality that always helps with defensive stuff, responsibilities. So yeah, mate, I feel like the tendency is that Luis Henrique, he's going to be like that second tier of Brazilian players. Like I feel like he might play 1 or 2 games for the national team. There's a lot of competition on the wings, but I definitely feel like he's going to have a good career. Like I could see him go to a Premier League side eventually because he's got the physical capabilities to play in the Prem.
Well, it's good that you said that because I was going to say, do you think this is possibly a stepping stone for him to be able to sort of get people to realize the talent that you say potentially has?
Absolutely, man. Like one thing I can say about Luis Henrique is that like he's really humble, right? Like I don't see the fame and success going to his head as much as it happens to a lot of Brazilian players. So just because of how serious he is, I could see him actually becoming like a serious threat to a couple of players' positions in the national team. Like I could see him growing. It's just the fact that there's so much like scary talent coming from that position. Hendrick's he's an attacker as well that could compete with Luis Henrique in the future. So it is Brazil we're talking about. If you went somewhere a little less prime time, if we went to Turkey or the Dutch league, I could see him getting a second nationality and playing somewhere else. That's not going to happen if he goes to Spain, though. Like, but I could see him being a good fit for a Premier League side. I can't say for sure that he's going to reach that level. Like if he came to Arsenal within a couple of seasons, I'm sure he would be a rotation player. But maybe that like next level of Premier League clubs like Leicester, Everton, if they ever get good, something like that.
I've got a question. Is it with Luis Henrique? Is he? This is my best little bit of analysis because of course, Henrique, when you mentioned his name, like he's going to be amazing. We heard about him a lot already, but in terms of his development, how much is he much further down the line than a Marquinhos? who's just left Sao Paulo to go to Arsenal?
Good
Does he
question.
have that kind of buzz in and around him as well?
I feel like he's relatively bigger than Marquinhos, and I don't mean that like literally. I mean like metaphorically bigger. I feel like he's more famous. He's been a regular starter. Like he's been our most important attacking player for like a good 2 years. Whether Marquinhos, I think Marquinhos is 1 year younger than Luis Henrique, and he hasn't even had like 50 starts for São Paulo.
Mm-hmm.
And even though São Paulo is a bigger club than Fluminense, they haven't been good for a long time now. So like they're more or less in the same level. So I say that right now, Luis Henrique is a better player, and I don't know Marquinhos enough to discuss the potential. I know that Marquinhos is faster than Luis Henrique. Like Luis Henrique's fast, but Marquinhos is a speedster. Like he's known as Lightning Marquinhos from São Paulo
Bit of the
fans.
Forrest Gump, yeah.
He can he can run. He can definitely run. But I've always felt like that Marquinhos deal was a business decision because it's very easy to see that he's gonna be worth a lot more money than what we got him for. So it's just easy to decide, right? Like you get him for like 2-3 mil. He's gonna be sold for at least 12 if you don't do something stupid. If you loan him out to the right places, like that's just if he eventually becomes good enough to play for Arsenal, good. But I don't think that's what they're counting on.
Yeah. If he's not, we'll get in Luis Enrique, right?
That could be smart, yeah. now that Rafinha is not coming.
Yeah, exactly. We've got to look at other Brazilian options.
Yeah.
I need to be singing Para do Nobel for other Brazilian players, man. That's what I need to.
We are going to talk about another Brazilian player right now. Richarlison, close to a Spurs move. But actually, before I start off that, before we get into it, let's read out a few comments here. Big up to Luca. Big up, May. Bill Baggio from the Man United Agenda. I would say Arsenal. I think he was talking about Rafinha, talking about where he'd probably be best off to get into the international squad. Yeah. Completely agree. And I love the name. I'm going to say it every single time, Bill Baggio, mate, because he was one of my favourites. Oh, yeah.
He's loved in Brazil. He's loved in Brazil.
With hair like that, mate, absolutely. Because you guys loved the mullets as well back in the 90s. I know that.
Oh, no, yeah, but the 1994 World Cup, we won by him missing a PK that he shot the ball to the moon.
Oh, you did? Yeah,
that's how Brazil won, yeah.
I watched that live, yeah. I was able... I was very late up as a young kid watching that. Big up, Charlie, in the chat. King say he's got a question for you, Marlie, actually, before we get into Richarlison. Marlie, what's your view on Marquinhos? Have you seen him play, and are you sad with the Rafinha deal? So you did say a little bit about Marquinhos, didn't you? But if you want to elaborate a little bit on King Say.
I mean, King, if you go back, like I did watch, I did talk about everything you're asking, but because I love you so much, I'll give you a quick summary. I don't know a whole lot about Marquinhos. The main thing about him that everyone knows that he's excitingly fast. Like he's known as Lightning Marquinhos, but I do feel like it was more of a business decision because we got him for 3 mil just because of some contract complications that he was having at São Paulo. And he's easily going to become, at the very least, a 12, 15 million player. So we can, at the very least, sell him for a lot of value. If he actually becomes good enough to play for Arsenal, exciting, but I don't think that's what they're putting their money on. I just feel like they're getting him to sell him for more money because he's never been a guaranteed starter for São Paulo. I'm not too bummed out about the Rafinha deal. I would be really excited if he signed for us, and he's a great player. Sure, like I feel like that's what would happen, right? Like he would play on the right, and Saka would be shifted to the left, and that's a really exciting front three with Gabriel Jesus in there as well. But I feel like we should have bigger priorities than Rafinha right now, so I'm not like too fussed about it. That's it.
There you go. Very, very well put. Very well put. Okay, Richarlison from Everton going to Spurs. Seems like it's going to happen. Another, 50, 60 million. I don't know whether he's worth that, but it is. I think it is quite a good deal. We did speak about this before the stream, and the fact that Son, Kane, and Richarlison might be a good triple, mightn't they? What do you reckon, Tereak?
I mean, that's not a very bad or I wouldn't even say he's necessarily a backup, but more competition for Kulusevski on the right. Because I mean, as Marlie was saying, we was chatting behind stage just before in backstage before Matt pressed live, talking about Richarlison could play across the whole of that front three. So if there's any injury issues or any rotation that's needed, let's say at worst for Richarlison, he'll be a backup. And what we're looking at Richarlison, you have to look at the mentality of this player. I'm sure Marlie would know a bit more about him than me personally, but when he came through at Watford, there was a lot of stories being coming out in terms of the background, where he's come from, how he's had to fight to get into this position, which is the case for a lot of Brazilian players who make that transition over from Brazil into Europe, of course. But Richarlison's he's got that very special mentality, which you can see. Yes, sometimes he does need to learn how to channel it, and lets his frustrations get the better of him, especially when being substituted. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic when it comes to at Tottenham Hotspur, because he's not going to be a guaranteed starter there with Son and Kane. But what he will add is a lot of hard work, intensity, similar things that we were talking about in terms of Rafinha. He can give you going backwards and ball progression, pacing behind, finish with his left foot, right foot, head. You know what? It's a very good player that Spurs are looking to get. And I wouldn't have mind looking at Richarlison as an alternative to Rafinha, but it doesn't seem to be the case. He looks to be having that as his heart set on that Spurs move. I think it's a good move for Spurs. A good move for Richarlison, but once again, World Cup year, that leaves a little bit of a doubt. Is that because there's so much competition in that forward area? We've just mentioned Rafinha. You've got Richarlison, of course. You've got Vinicius. You've got Anthony. You've even got Rodrigo trying to break his way through there. There's Gabriel Jesus, Firmino. These are just off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more that I'm missing as well who are contenders. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's the only thing that I would say. Is it the right move in a World Cup year? I'm not sure.
Do you think, I was going to ask you, Tereak, do you think that Conte is the best man to get something out of him? Because he has got this, some say, bad boy image, hasn't he? And he can be a bit rowdy. And I think we talked about the fact that he can sometimes trip over his own feet sometimes because he likes to dribble quite a lot. Do you think Conte would be the best person to get the best out of him as a player and get him back into... Well, like you said, Marlie, I think as well that he pretty much gets in the squad, the national squad, pretty much, doesn't he? Easily. But yeah, what do you make, Tereak? What do you think? Conte, the good man?
Yeah, Conte, if you're talking about the manager, a player style and management, I think that's going to be perfect. Very passionate players, a manager, when you can see with Richarlison, and looking at that, he will give him the tools to play on the counter-attack, which is where we've seen Richarlison thrive. We have to remember Conte is a counter-attacking manager. No disrespect to him at all, but that's just what he is. He will soak up the pressure and try and hit you in the break. And that's what we've seen the best out of Richarlison, right? At Everton, when he's been counter-attacking, and he's going to have the sort of creativity when Kane drops deep and then he plays the ball over, and he will bring that fire out of him. There might be a few red cards under Conte, because Richarlison, once again, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's not going to hide that. And it's going to be an interesting dynamic. But also, I've said that it looks like a perfect match, but the opposites tend to attract. Will this, if it's not going well at a period for Richarlison, a potential bust up with Antonio Conte, and how Antonio Conte is ruthless and those things, but we'll have to see. I don't think it will be the latter. I think it'd be what you said. Good point there, Matt.
Well, it seems like everybody's leaving Everton. I hear the owners are looking like they're going to sell up as well. And there is American owners coming in. They're actually going on tour to the place that the American owners are from. I don't know. That's very strange, isn't it? Right? Can't remember where they're traveling to with their pre-season tour, but it's somewhere in America where the new owners are going to, well, apparently new owners are going to be. So it's really strange things at Everton. And I think this is probably the move for him, so he can be at a stable club, not have to sort of face that relegation battle again. Marlie, what do you make of this, mate? Your fellow countryman wants to get more football, doesn't he? This
is going to ruin my mood. It's going to absolutely destroy my day when he signs for Tottenham. I mean,
Oh,
you know this. Richarlison is one of my favorite players. Another one that came from Fluminense.
you didn't feel
He's
about
not
that with Lucas Moura, no?
what? No. I didn't care
Not
about
quite
Lucas
the same?
Moura. No.
No, okay.
Richarlison's not an academy, a Fluminense academy player, but he did play like a couple of seasons at Fluminense before being sold to Watford. He's never not been loved. Like he's a character that always falls into the fan base's arms. Like they embrace him every single time. At Watford, he might not be too loved right now because he only stayed there one season, but he was sold for 50 mil. So like I think he was bought for 17, sold for 50. Like you can't complain about that too much.
There's a
But
horrible connection between Watford and Everton, isn't there? We do know that, especially with the managers as well. We won't go into too much detail, but we all know. Continue, sorry, Mark.
but he was absolutely adored at América Mineiro. That's the first club he played for in Brazil. Then at Fluminense. When he comes back to Brazil, he goes to watch games in both those clubs. Like at Everton, he's absolutely adored as well. He's the main reason why they're still in the Premier League, right? Like this season they were horrible and Richarlison saved them. He's perfect for Spurs. I'm thinking it's gonna cost them like 60 because he was bought for 50. I don't see Everton being willing to not gain any money from Richarlison because he's a special player. Tereak mentioned his chances of losing his spot in the national team. I don't see that happening because, like, I feel like after Neymar, he's the one that has the most solid spot up there in Brazil because, like, he's been playing for Brazil for a long time. He's always been solid. He always scores a lot of goals. He's a really passionate player, so I don't see him losing his spot. And for Tottenham, man, like, I'm assuming he would start the season on the bench, but Richarlison being there pretty much means that Tottenham can totally afford to lose one of the front three players to injury, and they're not going to lose much. Like Richarlison can, like, sure, he's not at Son's or Kane's level, but like if Son gets injured and Richarlison plays there, it's not too big of a gap, you know. Like he can do most of what Son can do. And if Kane's dropped and he has to start up front, it's going to be different, but it's going to be really good as well. He's as good on the right as well because he's totally ambidextrous. So yeah, man, it's exciting for Tottenham, miserable for me because like I know that he's going to go there. I know that he's probably going to be very loved by the fan base. He's probably going to love the fan base as well. And because of his character, I'm sure that he's going to hate Arsenal because it's the rival club. So he's always going to have a rivalry against us. That's going to be painful for me. I love the kid. Like one of my favorite players, absolutely. I love seeing him play for the national team, but I'm going to have to like him a little less now.
Well, not necessarily because it's not completed yet, and there could be a club that might move in and go, we'll put in a better bid. Barcelona might do that.
In my opinion, like I'm not as big of a football connoisseur as Tereak is, so like he gets into the technical stuff a little more. In my like very unaware eyes, Richarlison makes more sense than Rafinha because like he could start from the left, he could start up top as well. Like he's as good or better than Gabriel Jesus. It's just a matter of not being a better fit for what Arteta does, and he can also play on the right if he needs to give Saka some rest. So he's more versatile, and I feel like that would be smart for Arsenal to try.
I think you're right. I do agree with that in terms of his versatility. Like he's someone who can play up top. He's very good at holding up the ball as well. So, you know, quite similar in a way to Gabriel Jesus in terms of, you know, how they actually are. I know they're not exactly the same size in terms of height, but in terms of how they work and they're in and around the box, the only question you'd say for him and Jesus is their finishing. They at times you see them miss certain chances, but that's it. That like with Richarlison, he's playing in much worse sides, so you can give him, you know, a little bit of leeway for that. The chances come a lot less. I you know what? I agree with you, Marlie, in terms of him being a better fit because what would you say is Arsenal's weakness? He's scoring goals, having that clinical striker, and having another option. If Gabriel Jesus gets injured, a lot of Arsenal fans are worried, saying, "What, we're going to be relying on Eddie Nketiah then?" But Richarlison would still get game time and then still be like a second or third choice striker. Yeah. So, yeah, I understand that point.
Let's read out some comments then. Eagle Eye Football. Good evening, guys. Big up, big up. Thank you for coming in. Let's get Football United TV, Matt and Marlie to 800, just 5 off. Thank you so much, mate. BX Gunner, Richarlison is
Love
a beast. I wanted him at Arsenal. There you go. See, he's agreeing with you, I think. Richarlison is a match winner. He's going to his third small club. Come on, Richarlison, don't do it. Basuma cleared today, has Tottenham in a favourable position, unfortunately. Yeah, that's an interesting buy and a very good buy, I think. Probably the best buy so far. I think people they underrate that. I think 25 million it was, wasn't it, for Basuma?
Yeah.
I feel like it's being underrated because of the complications around Bissouma, right? Like the fact that he's like facing some like legal problems that like we can't go into because we don't know enough. But because of those complications, like that's like Bissouma's a great player. Just that,
So
like I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans not wanting him anymore because they're not sure of what could happen in the future. So that's probably why the transfer is being underrated. But like he fits like a glove within like what Spurs are trying to do.
Right, so
Spurs are doing well. They're doing well this transfer window. Perisic was not a bad acquisition either. Like he's another great like squad player.
Okay. Arsenal play Everton in Maryland. I think the reason why Arteta prefer Rafinha is because he's one of the best wingers in defence. His defensive stats is better than Saka. You agree with that, Tereak?
Yeah, you've just got to look at it, man, in terms of who the manager he's played for in the Premier League. That's Marcelo Bielsa. There's no manager like him out there, and a manager that wouldn't demand for you to do as much work. I think he's the best defensive winger going backwards in the world. Actually, in fact, he's got the highest defensive actions for any winger. So and then with the potential of him going forward, I think in terms of creativity as well, but that's another aspect of his game that didn't really get to excel at Leeds because of their lack of, clinical strikers in themselves. So that's a big point. And that's where the rumours about Tuchel playing him at wing back probably stems from as well.
What about this one then? Maybe to you, Marlie, from Bill Baggio. Is anyone sniffing around João Pedro at Watford? He has potential, I think, to be a solid player. Again, another Brazilian.
Another Fluminense Academy player. I love that people like unwillingly just like they're not even aware of it. They're embracing the whole Fluminense thing. Let's make my club rich. Come on. João Pedro, like he hasn't done anything special yet, right? Like in the Prem or even in the Championship when he's played there before. But like you can see there's big possibilities for him. I could see him going to a Premier League club this season to be an option coming off the bench. Not like I've seen Liverpool links in the past, but I feel like that's way too big of a step for him. But if he went somewhere like some like mid-table club and he got a little more minutes than he did in the past, like maybe he's going to become a good player. He was never like too exciting when he started his career at Fluminense. He came along Marcos Paulo, who was a much more attractive option. Like he never worked out. Like he's a much lesser player than João Pedro nowadays, but he used to play for the Portugal sides, like Portugal national team's youth. He went to Atletico Madrid for free because he didn't renew with Fluminense. But João Pedro, like he scored a lot of goals when he started Fluminense. He scored a beautiful bicycle kick that like Watford made a lot of posts about. So like every now and then he shows something special. He's got a lot of development to do, but he's another one that's kind of versatile. Like he's a little similar to Richarlison without like the huge cojones that Richarlison has, because Richarlison's that warrior. Like João Pedro hasn't embraced that warrior spirit as well yet. That's something that comes from the Fluminense DNA as well, known as the Warriors in Brazil. But I hope he goes somewhere. I hope he stays in the Premier League. I don't want to see him spend another season in the Championship. And these sides, like as much as I like Watford because they have a good relationship with Fluminense, they're more or less like Norwich. They're yo-yo clubs. They stay one season, they go down one season. So it's I want to see him go somewhere more stable. Maybe a Crystal Palace of sorts, like to be managed by Vieira. That's something that would excite me.
There are some good players at Watford as well. I'm not sure why people ain't sniffing around there. Is it Sarr?
Sarr and Dennis.
Sarr is a good player.
Oh,
Dennis, yeah.
Just stay there.
If you guys watch Gunners from all corners, Nitesh is here all the time. He's a big fan of Dennis. He feels like it's one of the best attacking options out there. And no one's looking at him right now. I don't see any rumors.
I know he's had a few off the pitch issues. Not at Watford, nothing that I can report of or that I can remember report of. But yeah, in terms of what happened at Club Bruges, I know what happened there. There was he had a bit of a falling out with the team and with the management and the whole club at Club Bruges. And he was he's someone who doesn't really associate apparently with a lot of his teammates much, doesn't really socialize. I remember hearing a lot about that. And when he scored at the Bernabeu, I think he did for Club Bruges in the Champions League. He went on the coach sulking because he didn't get a hat trick. Yeah, so he's a very competitive player. That's not a bad thing. But
you want to hear that,
moan at the manager. Yeah.
You want to hear that though. You want to hear someone moaning they didn't get a hat trick. Harry Hexel says the Young to Man United deal is off. I have just quickly looked up. I haven't seen anything yet. Please let us know what you know, Harry. Thank you so much for coming in as well, mate. Smash like, share, subscribe if you can. This has been a brilliant show so far. We are going to finish off with one more chat, and it is going to be about Martinez and the dilemma between Arsenal and Man United, who have both gone in for him. Bill Baggio says it's weird. Them 3 players at Watford could be poached for every little cash. Right, let's move on then to last but not least, because we've only got about 15 minutes left. Martinez, Arsenal United decision. Now, Arsenal put in a bid. I think the first bid was 25 million, then the second bid was 30 million plus 5 million in add-ons, and then Man United apparently have put a bid in of 40 million. What do you make of this, Tereak, mate? I think Arsenal are the ones that are really intent to get him. Man United probably wanted Timber more, but because I don't think they can get him due to maybe being told by Van Gaal and people in the Dutch Academy of the Internationals, pretty much said you should stay and give it one more year and then see your options after it. Do you think this is good for Arsenal? Because I don't know whether it is for Man United, but
yeah, you see, for Arsenal, I think this is very good in terms of his versatility. That's the main thing when I look at Lisandro Martinez, because when the links first broke through, I was like, okay, I know the player, but I haven't kept a keen eye on him as such. I haven't been watching, looking at him particularly. But of course, as you do, when you're linked with a player that you haven't seen much, what do? You go on YouTube, you check the videos, you check your little compilations and whatnot, and you have a look into the statistics. That's what I look at a lot. And with Martinez, his passing statistics are unreal. And that's what he's done across the whole time at Ajax. The way he plays, and it's not just his passing in terms of he keeps the ball, he makes a lot of passes. No, those passes are played forward. He's got the diagonal. He can cover that left channel. And then what we're looking at defensively from his player profile, he can cover the wide areas. He's very aggressive and aggressive in the air as well in terms of dealing with physicality, which is, a surprise bearing in mind his height. He's less than 5'10". He's 5'9", less than that even, I think. So he's a very, Argentinian centre-back style. If for the recent times, you're thinking of Javier Mascherano when he was at, and he had his time at Liverpool. He came in as a defensive midfielder who was also very versatile. So I think that suits what Arsenal require more. And I don't think he would just be a centre-back at Arsenal, given the Kieran Tierney situation with how he picks up injuries all the time. He'd certainly cover there. And then in midfield, also for a Thomas Partey and give us that defensive solidity. So there's plenty of game time, and there's an easy way to see him fitting into an Arteta system. Gives us that left-sided centre-back, that aggressiveness. But at Manchester United now, I'm thinking about this in this sense. If you guys do get a Tyrell Malacia and then you get Alessandro Martinez, I think that left side looks pretty small. I'm not saying in terms of Alessandro Martinez in particular, but both of them as a combination, like dealing with crosses in the back post area or defensively off of set pieces. Interesting, I think. because Martinez won't be able to cover both, and we know this Premier League, it would be interesting to see that, the likes of Ivan Toney as your strikers, your Joe Lintons arriving in the box.
Well, I still think with Man United, Tereak, mate, that he would find it difficult to still pip starting positions against Varane and Maguire. I don't rate Maguire at all, and there's been links of him going to Barcelona, but I think they're absolute rubbish. But it would have been Timber for me. But I think Man United have done this to try and sort of see if Timber looks at this now and goes, well, my teammate is going to Arsenal. What am I doing staying here? And I know Ajax have given a lot of players out already this transfer window, and they're reluctant to sort of give anyone up unless they pay a very good price. So this could be a battle, right? Between both clubs. It could go up and up and up. And I'm pretty sure Man United at some point, because I know what they're like in the transfer window, will just go, we're not paying any more than, say, 45 million maybe. And then Arsenal might say, look, we'll pay 50. It's fine. What do you think?
Also, knowing Arsenal, we're very much like that as well. Whereas that's what the issue is with the Rafinha deal, I can imagine, which is why Chelsea have been able to get in there and get their foot through the door in the race. But that's where we're trying to build slowly in terms of these bids. With Arsenal, we've had interest longer in the player. Yeah. So maybe that could benefit in his case. And when I look at Man United and Arsenal, of course, he's got Erik ten Hag there, previous manager, Ajax player of the season last season under Erik ten Hag. But we're in the same boat in terms of Europa League football. I think we could probably edge you out right now, unless the Ten Hag factor.
I think London's a good factor as well, right? Surely.
That's a great point. I'm
not saying that Manchester isn't great, but if you're coming from abroad, you go live in London. Yeah, I mean, you hear that with Eriksen, don't you? The fact that he might not go to Manchester just because his family is settled in London. They love it there. Exactly. What do you make of this then, Marlie, mate? Martinez?
Mute.
You're muted.
Sorry. I was mentioning before that the Rafinha deal off, like, that doesn't bother me too much. This one would hurt me because Martinez, like, he fixes two things at Arsenal, right? Like, because even though we can see potential at Nuno, like, he's so far off what we need right now. Like, his decision making is horrible. His passing is really bad. Like, he's very unaware defensively. So Martinez covers, like, the left back, and like, he would finally offer some competition for Gabriel Magalhães, even though it's funny to see, like, such a huge guy like G-Mag fight, like, competing against such a small guy, such a small defender like Martinez. But another left-footed center back that's really good, really exciting, that's been playing well for Ajax for a couple of seasons now. Mate, like, or if you're patient, and I know that most Arsenal fans aren't, and I don't even blame them for that, but if you're patient and you look at our defense, mainly if this guy joins, that's kind of scary. We have a really young defense, like most players, like probably Holding and Cedric excluded. Everyone tends to improve rather than getting worse, right? Like, because everyone's at such a young age, they're still, like, defenders tend to take a little longer to reach their prime. So we'd be looking good. I feel like he actually stands a bigger chance of starting at United. Like, I'm never going to accept that Maguire's a good defender. Like, you're never going to get that. Like, you're never going to convince me about that. G-Mag's way better than him.
I just think it's the height. I think that's the thing. I think Man United wants someone with a bit more height, like Pau Torres. I think is like 6'2", 6'3", and I think he's 5'9", Martinez. So it's quite a small defender, and we need some height with Varane, I think.
It's like I'd have a tough time dealing, like, not. I'm sure I didn't phrase that right, but I'd be a little scared to see Arsenal start with Ben White and Martinez.
Yeah.
As a partnership that's very small. Unless you're playing someone that doesn't have tall attackers whatsoever, like, that's very short. So if Martinez was to start on defense, I'd be more comfortable if he was alongside Saliba. But that's the thing, like, Arsenal's finally, like, we have options in the back, and if he comes, like, we have a lot of options. That way, Cedric, Holding, and Nuno Tavares who got a lot of minutes last season, they're probably gonna get like a lot less, and that makes me more comfortable.
I think with Cedric though, I think he may still get minutes because he will be the backup to Tomiyasu. But that's where when we look at Cedric, and I've been saying this to a lot of Arsenal fans, when you was watching Arsenal with Cedric and Tierney as well as Gabriel and Ben White, the drop off wasn't as bad as we first feared. It was when Tierney got injured and Cedric and Cedric and Tavares were both at fullbacks, did not suit each other at all. But if you have Alessandro Martinez that comes in at left back, which allows Cedric to go forward and do what he does best and hide his flaws defensively, that would help us massively. And with Alessandro, very good pass with the ball as well. So, do you know when we watched Arteta play Xhaka at left back and think, what are you doing? Why are you playing Xhaka out there? No, because he wants his left back to cover a certain area in the midfield as well in possession. And that's what Lisandro Martinez would be excellent at. And that's what you're looking at in terms of his player profile. Whereas at Man United, that's where you're looking, all right, are they going to open up a position for him in that left back area? Probably not. If you're signing Malacia, you're going to have Luke Shaw there too. Centre backs, you're going to have Victor Lindelof there as well. Is Eric Bailly still there?
He is still there. Whether he's going to stay there, I'm not sure. There's rumours that he might go. We could do a swap deal with Pau Torres and give Bay back to Villarreal.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? That's interesting there. So let's presume that Bay goes, but then he's still got Victor Lindelof, Varane, and Maguire. Yeah, it's good to have options, but with Maguire's contracts and him being 80 million, I think that's the big reason why he'll continue to get game time, which is why Erik ten Hag will almost have no choice but to play him. But Arsenal defensively, as Marlie said, I just got to reiterate, that young core, they're going to be developing. He's young, but he's also in a good age range where he's not too young, like a Saliba, who's still very young in himself. So yeah, he's got experience to him.
Yeah.
If
I were to place money, I feel like you're right. I feel like Cedric's going to get a lot of minutes this season because Tomiyasu might get injured again. Yeah. But I would like to see him leave very soon. Cedric, he's the oldest player in our defense. He's not, he can't be considered homegrown, unlike Saliba, who's French, but he's technically homegrown because he's been at Arsenal since he was 18.
Yeah.
So I feel like it makes more sense to get rid of him than Holding, because both Saliba and Ben White can cover right back, and they have in the past. Like Ben White's played a right back for Arsenal, right? Like 1 or 2 games.
Yeah.
He didn't do well, but he has played there. Cedric usually doesn't do too well either. And one of our most exciting, if not our most exciting defensive player coming from the academy is Norton Cuffy, right? Like he's a right back. So maybe it makes more sense to be looking to shift out Cedric so that because we have a lot of foreigners at the club. So we're probably going to have to start looking at the whole homegrown thing very soon. So I don't know, that just makes more sense to me. But Arteta has always been a fan of Cedric, so I don't see him playing too little.
Yeah, and just to end on that one, we kind of did all the homegrown signings last season, with the Ramsdale, with the Ben White adding into there. And then I think Martinelli might even be classed as homegrown soon well. He is. There you go. Do you see what I mean? So
you might know this. Do you know if Gabriel Jesus is homegrown because he got I think he was 18 when he got to City. So technically, he probably played 3 years in England before reaching 22, which I think is the cut.
Yeah, that is the cut. I'm going to have a quick look now if he is classed as a homegrown player.
Because I know Richarlison's not, because Richarlison was 21 when he arrived at England.
Yes, yeah. I don't think he is. Gabriel Jesus has not been completed, but okay, no, I can't see anything that confirms it yet about him being homegrown. But yeah, if that would be another brilliant signing and another thing to go for him if that was the case.
Yeah,
you see. So yeah, it is 3 years before you're 22. Yeah, you're right.
Agreed. Right, guys, we're going to finish off in a minute. Just a few more comments. Bill Baggio says Saliba's back for the Gooners this season. He's class. You agree with that, guys?
Definitely like the look of what I see. But aerially, he's my only issue with Saliba. That's why I think he needs to develop.
He won Player of the Season, didn't he, at Marseille, right?
Yeah, young. Yeah, you got player of the season and young player of the season in League One.
Did he get player of the season for Marseille as well?
I think so.
Okay. Because
sure
I know that Guendouzi played really well this season as well.
Yes, exactly.
You don't want him back though.
Yeah, it is true.
We need him way more than Arsenal. And King Sight says no.
Okay. Thank you, King. The King has spoken. His words rule.
So. Big up to the King. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Smash the like, share, subscribe if you can. And Tereak, thank you so much for joining us, mate. It's been absolutely amazing to have your input as well, man. And hopefully we can get you onto like a Guns from All Corners sometime. Marlie does that. I'm not a part of it, so you can hear all the squabbles. There's not lots of squabbles, not lots of fights, only sometimes, right?
Yeah,
only sometimes.
Thank you for inviting me to come on, guys. It's been a great pleasure to meet Matt and Marlie. You know what I mean? I've been, as I've been saying, looking at your content, wonderful insight. This is why I love having proper football conversations. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Thank you,
You're
mate.
always welcome, man. Always welcome back.
Absolutely, you, mate. Let everybody find out where. Tell everybody where they can find you, mate.
Yeah, you can find me at Tereak Talks on YouTube, on Twitch as well. On YouTube, I talk everything, not just Arsenal. Even though you might be watching this thinking he's wearing an Arsenal cap, he's wearing an Arsenal shirt. It's not just an Arsenal channel. So yeah, we'll be talking plenty more about Premier League, European football as well. So yeah, come check me out over there. And on Twitch, I do gaming as well. So I'll be playing games like FIFA, Fall Guys, Among Us, NBA. I'll be playing a lot. So yeah, it's something to keep the weekends going as we have no football. So yeah, check me out there, and on the socials, you'll find it. Tereak Talks.
Yo, you're if you're an NBA fan, because I am as well, but I haven't followed in a long time. Do you feel like Paolo Banchero is gonna be a hit at Magic? Because I'm a Magic fan.
It's a good question.
You have to give him a hard question with 2 minutes to go. Well done.
With Magic, yeah, with Orlando, you got to think if they build correctly, they're a big franchise because obviously they're based in Florida. They can get there. So yeah, I'm going to say yeah. For the benefit of you, Marlie, I'm going to say yes.
Thank you. I'm counting on it.
Yeah.
Go check out Tereak.
That was fast, Maddie.
Please go check out Tereak. It was. You were very good there. Go check out Tereak's socials. And Marlie, of course, let everybody know where they can find you apart from here, bro.
Yeah, well, that's my Twitter, then my Instagram. So if you want to follow me there, go ahead. This is my home. Stay tuned to all the content we have coming up. And very soon I'll be back on SVZ TV on Steven's channel because he's getting better. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching once again.
Yes, everybody. Thank you for watching. Smash like, share, subscribe. And thank you to everybody in the comments today. Really good comments too. Hope to see you again tomorrow around 7 o'clock. Until then, have a pleasant evening, morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, because I've got to remember that. Make sure you enjoy yourself. All right, everybody. Stay safe. Take care.
Ciao.